Hello, and thank you for joining me today. My name is Julia, and today I'm creating two tags, one in pastel and flowers, and the other more grungy and steampunkish. I have these two ideas and simply had to make them both, one to balance the other. I've drawn up these two flowers for the one tag, and I'm going to color them with a mix of Distress Oxides and Distress markers. For the stems of the flowers I'm using Distress Oxide Mowed Lawn and the marker Twisted Citron, and blend them together with water. For my pink flower, and don't ask me what kind, I usually make them up, I'm using picked raspberry and a marker in worn lipstick. I put the darker picked raspberry at the bottom of the petals. Then I scribble down some worn lipstick and use water to drag the color out, fading at the top of each petal. And I also try to vary how much ink I use, so each petal is colored in its own shade of pink. While the pink petals are drying, I'm coloring another made-up flower in blue. I'm putting down a dark turquoise peacock feathers at the center of the flower and a marker in broken china to make the flower lighter at the top, always dipping my brush in water and pulling the colors together. And when the blue flower dries, I finish up the pink one, before I leave them both to dry and focus on the centerpiece for my grungy, steampunkish tag. I knew I wanted a flower in metal, and from that thought came this grungy flower. I brought out all colors that fit the profile of a metal rusty flower, put together with metal and gears. I'm using Distress Oxides weathered wood and combine it with walnut stain and peacock feathers and a marker called Rusty Hinge. I love watercoloring with my inks. It's easy to blend and go nicely together, so I can get as many shades of rusty gray as possible. For the stem or chain, I use a black watercolor marker from Ecoline, picking up black and putting it down where the chain links meet, and use water to drag that black out into a gray chain, and that black in the corners provide all the shading I need. I'm starting with a grungy tag, the background for that metal flower. And I use a technique called Inksmooshing. I simply smoosh down the same colors I used on the flower on a plastic sheet, spray with water and smoosh the inked up sheet down on my tag. I'm working in layers. These inks blend when wet, but if you dry each layer in between the colors lay on top of each other. And I smoosh down weathered wood, my main grey color on the tag, dry it and do it all over again, sometimes smooshing some brown walnut stain or a blue peacock feathers, building layers and focusing on the left side of the tag, smooshing and drying until I'm satisfied with the first part of the background. I die cut these paper gears and I'm using a Distress crayon with a metallic color and blend it out on the paper gears with my fingers. Then I pick up my brown ink, walnut stain, and go over these gears, trying to achieve an old look. Lastly, I go over the gears' edges with black soot to define them so they don't get lost in the background. To make this background come together, I take my grey ink and ink up my blending tool and go over most of the tag. The smooshed ink is dry, so I can easily give the tag a light coat of grey without disturbing the beautiful smooshed ink from earlier. Then I want to darken the edges and use black soot over the edges and lightly blend it into the tag with the grey. Then I take this stamp with scripted words and a clock and ink up with VersaFine Vintage Sepia. I don't take much care inking up because I'm not aiming for a perfect impression. Instead, I want this stamping to be random and only partially seen in the background. Now, let's go back to that other tag with colorful flowers. First, I give this tag a good coat of gesso that will make it easier for me to move color around. I bring out my gelatos from Faber-Castell in greens, pinks and blues. Gelatos are like sticks of pigment, and on the gessoed background I can easily move the colors around with my fingers. Moving randomly, just having fun and putting colors wherever I like. To seal the gelatos, I'm using multi-matte medium, and while I have that out, I'm tearing up an old book page into strips and glue them down with a multi-matte medium, giving my flowers something to stand on, and only partially framing the tag. Then I get so carried away I could kick myself, stamping away hearts in blue and black, but you will see me fix that later. Before you see me trying to fix that stamp mania, you see me doing as I always do, framing the tag with a tad of black soot. I'm thinking the tag needs some more black, and I use a black Posca pen to make some scribbly lines along the book strips. Now I go in to fix the mess and bring in some more white. With a white gel pen, I'm making circles or bubbles in various sizes. And when I have enough bubbles, I will fill them in with white gesso. When the white bubbles have dried, I use a black watercolor pencil and go around each bubble. I use a water brush to drag that black out, making the bubbles pop from the page. To make the bubbles pop even more, I bring back the gelatos, scribbling a tiny bit in every bubble and dragging it out with a water brush. And when I'm done popping these bubbles, I use my fingers to add some extra white gesso here and there. I'm using this grey cotton twine to tie the flowers together, and then I glue these flowers down on my almost finished tag. I had this tiny piece of cardboard that I put some gesso on and darkened the edges with both brown and black ink for the flowers to grow from. Now it's time to glue everything down, the metal flower, the gears that I will place at the foot of the metal flower, along with a rusty key, and a little beetle I found in my stash of papers. And then I pull some twine through the eyelet and a black ribbon through the other tag. Then I pull out my box with already stamped words and decide which word will end up on each tag. My steel flower gets two simple but important words, be kind, and my pastel tag I decide on keep calm and create. Of course I go over every word with brown and black ink to help them seem like they belong there. The last thing I do is to go over both tags with black gel pen and a white, framing and creating small highlights, and then I'm done for this time. Thank you so much for popping by, and if you have the time, I'm very curious to know which tag you prefer, or if you, like me, think they need each other for contrast. Let me know in the comment section. Until the next time, goodbye for now.